Got a special request video today from a young lady who's shy and awkward around guys, and she wants some advice from a guy around how to deal with this. Here's what she sent through. She watched a video some years back about being shy around attractive people, but it was very tailored to guys. Most of my stuff is tailored to guys. She says, I'm a young woman in my early to mid 20s. I'd appreciate if you can do one for girls who are shy around attractive guys and awkward and everything. Given I'm a dude, can I give some solid, insightful perspectives that would help young ladies specifically who are shy around attractive guys and have never dated? Yes, I think I can help you with that, or I can at least try. This is a big unspoken issue. I think a lot of women are affected like this. Maybe they're introverted as a baseline setting, and then shyness from social anxiety. And of course, there's really nothing for women around how to make things happen with guys. In Western society, at the very least, we're raised to believe that guys are going to do all the heavy lifting and initiating and face all the rejection. The girl just sort of sits around waiting for it to come. And a lot of women are finding out as they grow older that that's not actually happening for them, even if they are attractive objectively in some way. Especially these days, because guys are actually very scared and frightened of rejection and abandonment and humiliation themselves. So basically, no one's doing the initiating, no one's taking the risk. So it's frustrating for women who are shy and awkward to have no one coming up to them and not knowing how to do it themselves. So I'm going to give you some advice on how to do it yourself, to take the power into your own hands and make things happen for yourself rather than hoping some guy will swoop in and do it for you. Now, I'm going to be speaking in generalities around gender here. There will be exceptions to everything I say, but I do believe that the generalities I'm sharing are kind of the best baseline to work with. Go with these assumptions and it'll be right more than it's wrong. Now, your case is actually really tragic because guys are actually really less likely to brutally reject compared to, say, women who have probably had to do a lot of rejecting throughout their life just to give themselves some space. So guys are so rarely hit on, and so rarely is it that they experience a woman coming up to them and showing interest, that even if they're not interested in you, they're going to be stoked that it's happening. So it's very unlikely that they're going to be cruel or unkind to you. There is some risk of that, and this is the fear we have to overcome. But it's just kind of tragic that women are scared of doing this because they're quite unlikely to get a really bad reaction. You've got to remember, compared to women, guys are very rarely complimented on their looks and attractiveness, sexuality, anything in that kind of genre. For some guys, it never happens in their entire life. In fact, for many guys, nothing ever overtly happens. And for many of us, it's a shocking surprise when a girl says that they like us physically, if we're not already, obviously ripped and so on. So you've got a opportunity to give great joy to men, to be maybe the only person who ever does this to them in their whole life. Even the guys that you think it must happen to a lot, really good looking guys, it still may have never happened. All right, it's very rare. Girls get complimented on the way they look all the time. Guys, it's actually very rare, and so we're much more appreciative of it. If you want to see it, like, the thing that girls hate when they get catcalled and whistled at by construction workers or whatever. If you reverse that, the guy's always stoked, right? If a guy walks past a group of girls and they're like, woo, he's like, yeah. And he's going to remember that for the rest of his life. He's going to be telling that story at the pub for years to come. We react quite differently to what women would call harassment. We would consider like the highlight of our week. So I just say that to put it in your mind that this idea that men are going to be repulsed and upset by you doing this, possible, but very unlikely, especially if you're doing it without any sort of needy clinginess that might make them feel suffocated. So the key is to come from a giving place. Rather than hoping to get something from the guy, hoping for a good reaction, hoping that he'll like you back. If you can get to the point where your intention is to make his day better, intention is to give to him rather than get for yourself, it'll change the vibe of what you're doing significantly and actually increase the likelihood that this is going to go well for you. So the main issue you're going to be facing if you're shy with guys, and being shy and awkward is not the problem, but neediness is. All right, even guys especially healthy guys, confident guys, are a bit repulsed by neediness. We don't want someone who's going to cling to us and pursue us and not give us room to breathe. And we're quite sensitive to that. Especially like more attractive guys, they have an avoidant attachment style usually. Maybe that's an overgeneralization. But the key is here is if you're going to go up to a guy and show interest in him, make sure he feels like nothing's being forced on him. And the way to do that is to do it as a gift, freely given. You're actually, your next move is to leave. You're not actually trying to hang around and get this guy and keep him. You're not hoping for a reaction or reciprocation. And if he feels that space to breathe, you're going to get the best possible reaction that is available with him, even if he's not attracted to you. One thing to keep in mind is awkward and shy is not the same for guys as it is for girls. Very general speaking here. Women can be quite harsh around a guy who's shy, especially a guy who's awkward. Right? Shy, I don't know, they might find it cute. Not many. But awkward, they can be quite brutal about. It's not the same for guys. Again, I'm speaking in generalities. I feel like I have to keep saying that. But for guys, generally, we find shy and awkward endearing, especially if we realize that we've had that effect on you. If a girl comes up to me and she's obviously nervous about talking to me because she's so into me, I take that as a huge compliment. Like that never happens. At least I don't notice it when it happens. This is a rare, wonderful event to be that special to someone. And generally, we find girls quite cute and attractive when they're shy and bashful. We don't need you to be socially sophisticated. We don't need you to be great at speaking. We don't have that as an interest for us. Now, women do find that very attractive in men. They find articulate, confident speaking guys very attractive. But that's not a criteria for us. We're not really into that. That's not a big deal for us. We have other criteria. And you being emotionally into us is one of the criteria. One thing to make a guy like you more is to let him know that you like him. We tend to like people who like us. Just on that factor alone, no matter what their personality is, we'll like someone more if we know that they like us. So you showing that you're shy and nervous because of your attraction towards us, that's generally going to score you points, not lose you points. So it's not something you need to hide. It's an asset. It's fine to be that way. We generally speaking, again, we're actually kind of into it. Now, the key here, let's get practical. You have to match where you're currently at in terms of your social development. If we look at the concept we call dating, attraction, and romance, if you're too nervous to engage in that kind of behavior right now, then you need to lower your practical level down to where you are at and build up to it. There's no point doing stuff that terrifies you because all that does is exacerbate the fears, just make you more afraid of doing it. And because you'll be so terrified, you won't present yourself as you really are, and so the results will be less likely to be good for you, and so on. I think the best way that, whether you're a guy or a girl, to deal with social anxiety is incremental exposure therapy. To start with where you can handle and slowly increase the level deliberately in a controlled way, patiently over time, so that it always feels a little bit uncomfortable, but the baseline just keeps rising until one day telling a guy that you think he's hot is only as uncomfortable as whatever a mild thing is for you now, like asking a shopkeeper how their day's going. So if you can just focus on going down to where you're at and bring the baseline up, you'll eventually get to the point where you can hit on guys and it's only slightly uncomfortable. I'll give you a sense of some of the levels so you can figure out which one you're currently at and where you need to start, and just be patient that you don't need to jump ahead. Basically, one of these levels is going to be about where you're at, and you want to just start on the next level up, the one you can handle doing, but gets the heart going a little bit, just a little bit. And you do that until it doesn't bother you anymore, until you're no longer afraid of doing it, and then you move up to the next level, maintaining whatever you've already learned from the levels before. So level one, I'd say, is just making eye contact. This will be from 0 to 1 in terms of socializing. So can you walk around a shopping mall, a busy street, and look people in the eye? When you go to buy something from a shop, when you're talking to a friend or a family member, can you maintain eye contact for at least a few seconds, long enough where you can register what their eye color is? If you can't do that yet, this is your starting point. just to get to the point where you can look at someone's eyes long enough to register what exact color their eyes are before you look away. Okay. Till you can do that, don't look any further. Second one would be smiling at a stranger. Okay, so now you're making eye contact with people, add a smile to it. Add more smiles generally to your interactions with people, just to show your teeth. A lot of people with social anxiety don't smile. I'm not particularly sure why that reason is. I think it's because they're worried that it's going to invite some sort of rejection. And that would be why I put it on the list, because it's a little bit of risk taking. Again, you just smile and keep on going with your day. You're not hoping that they smile back or anything. If you can make eye contact and smile, then we go to non-transactional conversations. Now, what this means is when you're in a transactional conversation, you switch to non-transactional. You switch to a real conversation. So let's say you're at I don't know, you're at a store and you're buying a dress. The person working there says, that'll be $95 or whatever. That's a transactional conversation. We're just saying the minimum needed to make this transaction happen, to get the job done. Same happens in the workplace. You say the minimum needed to collaborate on the project or whatever. Non-transactional is where you take this into a more personal realm. This could be as simple as asking, like, how's your day going? Or better yet, making a statement like, oh, it looks busy in here today. Where you just go beyond what's needed to get the job done. This is a great practice level. A lot of people need to stay at this level for quite some time before they're comfortable with it, which is, all the time that you're shopping and engaging. And if you're a person who hides in online shopping, go into the real world and shop at stores and stuff. So you got some chance to practice. But whenever you're buying anything anywhere, or you're collaborating with someone at work on something, just add a little bit where you go off track into the personal world. You might just tell them how you're feeling. You might ask them how they're feeling. You might compliment them on their clothing. You might just make an observation about the outside world, something that doesn't need to be said to get the job done. And having conversations where you regularly take all transactional conversations at least a little bit into the personal. Once you're okay doing that, the next level would be to introduce yourself. And this is where we break down with a stranger the barrier between stranger and now associate. It's a really good one to practice at places you often frequent, like your local corner store, or where you always buy your sushi and you're getting served by the same person, or with workmates that are in the same office as you, but you've never talked to them. You just go over and say, I don't think we've introduced each other. My name's blah, blah, blah. Nice to meet you. Shake their hand. It's a small but significant step, especially if you've been doing the steps before it. So you make eye contact with someone, smile at them, you have a non-transactional conversation, and then maybe just at the end before you leave the store, you say, like, by the way, I've come here all the time. I don't even know your name. What is it? Okay, I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you. The next step would be to initiate without cause, and that is to start a conversation where there's really no reason to. Like going up to a person at work that you've never talked to. Now, you don't need to talk to them. There's nothing in your job description that requires collaborating with them, but you go up to them and introduce yourself. So, we haven't met yet, which is one of my favorite lines. I don't think I've met you yet. What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. And then you go into a non-transactional conversation to the best of your ability. If you're a bit bolder, you can do this with total strangers. Maybe you're standing in line at the cafe and there's a kind of cute guy behind you or whatever. You can just turn around and say, hi, how's it going? It's really so easy to start a conversation. You don't need to do something fancy. Just, hi, how are you? Will be enough. Or just commenting on what's happening. Like, oh my God, this line is so long, right? Or, oh, the coffee smells great in here. Just anything where you start a conversation with a stranger. You don't have to continue it after that, but just getting to the point where you can start it. Now, once you're okay with that step, the next one is to keep the conversation going. I won't go into the details of how. I've got a whole course on that called Building Rapport. But basically, you initiate with a person for the first time, and then you keep talking to them, right? And if you can get that going for like 10 minutes, regularly, then you're ready for the next stage. The next one is to show interest. So during this conversation is to show some interest in them. And I would suggest you start with non-sexual. Okay. You might compliment them on what they're wearing, or that you're impressed by one of their skills, or you think their joke's really funny. Something where you actually show that you've been emotionally affected by them and that you like them. Once you're good at doing that, then you can start to show romantic and sexual interest. Right? So you can see how many steps we took before we got to this stage. You don't leap straight to this stage if you're not ready for it yet. But this is where you show that you are affected emotionally in a romantic way, right? You tell people that you're attracted to them, or that you get warm butterflies in your stomach when you see them, or that you notice them amongst all the other people because of the way they look or smell, or their body language, their posture, or you tell them that they're your favorite, or you go all the way to telling them you want to fuck them. So you build up to this stage, but this is a certain type of interest where you make it very clear to the other person that, hey, I'm not just your friend. And then the next stage, and really the final stage that you'd work on for this piece of work, is leading on from that to an escalation. So if they show reciprocal feelings, then you escalate towards some sort of sexual relationship or interaction. So figure out where you are on that list, start there, work on that until it's easy to the point of boring, where that step is like no longer causing you any panic, and then move on to the next step. And just take your time. This might take a year to get all the way up to the steps if you're doing it consistently. That's fine. It will be a year well spent. And by the time you get to the stage where you're dealing with people romantically and sexually, you won't be that bothered by it. You won't be that shy and awkward. It'll just be a little bit of nerves that give it a nice kind of thrilling feeling. Frequency is the most important. You want to be practicing whatever step you're at every day if possible. It's not so much that you have long interactions, but that you're frequently doing this so you don't have a chance to get rusty, and because the comfort zone kind of creeps back in when you're not working on it. You got to think of it as something you got to keep pushing out frequently so that it stays out. So you want to make sure you're at least once a day, more if possible, doing whichever step this is. And to make it easy for yourself, you want to create safe training environments, right? Hobbies, going to parties with friends, going to classes, sitting at the busy lunch table at work. Like constantly put yourself in a position where you could practice this stuff. Staying isolated at home is not going to help you here. All right. You want to push against that social repulsion you have, because being introverted is not the same as being shy. Being socially anxious is not a personality trait. Okay. It's a temporary condition that holds you back. So being isolated at home doesn't mean you're introverted. It means you're socially anxious. So you want to spend as much time around people as you can handle to give yourself as many opportunities as possible, but make those opportunities very low pressure. Just the step you can handle doing and no more than that for now. Just keep building on it. And that's how you get there.